Hey everyone, tonight we tumble headfirst into the dusty, suspiciously damp, and hilariously dangerous world of medieval survival, where drinking water might kill you faster than a sword, and sleeping outside means you're basically a snack with a heartbeat. Welcome to a place where common sense is rare, coyotes have meal plans, and even your own horse might be plotting against you. So before we dive into boiling puddles and cursed blankets, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if this chaotic corner of history makes you laugh, wince, or reconsider ever going camping again. Drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. Seriously, I love seeing which brave souls are staying up for dry history for sleep. Now, get comfy, fluff that pillow, and maybe keep one eye open. Because tonight's tale begins with a bucket of water, a suspicious look, and a man who definitely regrets wearing clean clothes. Let's begin. Because dying broke and bleeding builds character in the civilized parts of the world. Places with opera houses, napkins, and less livestock indoors. Gambling is considered a hobby, an elegant pursuit, maybe even a night out. In the Wild West, it's a full-contact blood sport with chips. If you've ever walked into a saloon, looked around, and thought, wow, this seems like a great place to risk my money, my pride, and possibly my spleen, congratulations. You've just wandered into the fastest route to bankruptcy, injury, and your own personalized grave marker. Misspelled and slightly smoking. Let's start with the basics. Every saloon has a poker table. Some even have roulette wheels or something wildly optimistic called faro. You'll hear clinking coins, shuffling cards, and the slow, measured laughter of men who haven't blinked since the Civil War. It's inviting. It's dramatic. It's a trap. See, out here, gambling isn't just about luck. It's about reading people. And everyone is lying. That quiet old man with the cane, he's got an ace up his sleeve, 2 under the table, and a hidden derringer pointed directly at your optimism. The wide-eyed kid fresh off the stagecoach, a card sharp from Chicago, banned in 4 states, and the saloon girl leaning on your chair, she's probably signaling your hand to the bartender with eyebrow twitches. You think you're here to play cards. You're actually starring in a high-stakes improv show where everyone's better rehearsed than you. What game are you playing? Let's break it down. Poker, the main attraction. You don't need to know the rules. Nobody fully does. All you need is a face that doesn't flinch when someone bets their horse, their boots, or their grandmother. Warning, you don't win at poker. You survive it. Faro, a game popular among cowboys and ghosts. Fast-paced, confusing, and statistically guaranteed to leave you with less money than you started with. If someone invites you to play, it's because they need a new pair of boots and like the look of yours. 3-card Monty. Not a real game. Just a quick way to give your money to a man named Snake-Eye Jim while he shouts, "Follow the queen," and makes your dignity disappear. Dice. Only roll if you enjoy the sound of bones rattling. Yours. Most dice out here are loaded. If they're not, they've been blessed by a local priest, which somehow makes them less fair. Who's at the table? The silent one, always in the corner, always wins, possibly doesn't breathe. Never argue with him unless you like sudden exits. The laugher, loud, drunk, overly confident, always bluffing, still somehow wins. Might be the mayor. The widowmaker, usually a woman in red, smoking something mysterious. Knows the rules, wrote the rules, burns the rules when convenient. You, fresh meat. You sit down with $5 and a dream. 3 hands later, you've lost your money, your boots, your pocket knife, and a button off your shirt someone claims is lucky. But you're not worried. You think, it's just luck. My turn will come. It won't. Because in the Wild West, luck is leased and someone else always owns the deed. The real risk now, losing money, that's expected. That's tradition. That's just part of the cowboy diet. Beans, regret, and unpaid debts. But the real danger, losing face. Because the second you accuse someone of cheating, the room goes silent. Someone stops the piano. A glass breaks. The barkeep ducks instinctively. You say, he dealt from the bottom. He says, call me a liar again, boy. You say, I reckon I just did. He reaches under the table, and now you're dueling over 2 cents and a bruised ego. If you're lucky, you get shot once. If you're unlucky, you survive and now owe him a drink. Signs you're in trouble, someone says, well, and you're not near a water source. Someone says double or nothing and eyes your boots. Someone offers to let you win a few hands, because that's just bait for the final bite. The dealer keeps scratching his left ear and the man behind you scratches his beard in reply. That's not a skin condition. That's a code. And if you're ever told, one last hand, don't play it. That hand has ended more careers, more friendships, and more lives than dysentery. But what if I win? Good question, imaginary reader. Let's say by sheer dumb luck, divine intervention, or the ghost of your gambler grandfather, you actually win. Congratulations, you are now a walking target, suspected of cheating, owed money no one plans to pay, and about to find out just how heavy a bag of silver coins is when you're running from 3 armed men named Hank. Winning out here is worse than losing, because when you lose, they laugh. When you win, they watch. You just became the richest man in the room and the first name on everyone's shopping list. So what's the strategy? Simple. Don't play to win. Play to blend in. Lose small. Lose politely. Lose with style. Make jokes. Buy a round of drinks. Be the guy who's not bad but never too lucky. In the West, the man who loses modestly lives longest. The man who wins big dies loudly. And if you must gamble, bring a friend, preferably one with good aim and a flexible definition of self-defense. Final tips for not dying with cards in your hand: never gamble with someone who has more rings than fingers. Never sit at a table where someone has blood on their sleeves and no one asks why. If the dealer has a snake tattooed on his neck and calls everyone cousin, politely excuse yourself, and always know where the back door is. Because in the Wild West, gambling isn't about luck, it's about knowing when to fold and when to jump through a window. Marriage. The only gamble where the house shoots back out in the Wild West. A lot of things can kill you. Snakes, outlaws, bad whiskey, falling off your horse while trying to show off to someone named Daisy. But if you're looking for a truly dangerous life choice, something more unpredictable than gambling, more permanent than a gunshot, and more complicated than a saloon brawl, then allow me to present marriage. Yes, that blessed union between 2 people, performed by a preacher who probably used to rob trains and witnessed by guests who brought their own revolvers, just in case things got exciting. Now, back east, marriage is a ceremony full of white dresses, carefully curated guest lists, and dinner parties with words like beef consommé. But in the Wild West, marriage is often decided somewhere between, I guess it's safer if we travel together, and you didn't die after I poisoned your stew, so maybe this could work. Let me be clear. Marriage out here is not romantic. It's strategic. It's chaotic. It's legally binding in only the loosest, most shotgun-based sense. And it's usually permanent. Not because of devotion, but because the only divorce lawyer in town is also the undertaker. How it begins: you might meet your future spouse while running from the same posse, sharing a jail cell, fighting over a piece of land no one wants, or attending a wedding that ends with someone yelling, "You too, you're next." There's no courtship. There's no dating. The most romantic line you'll hear is, "I like the way you shoot." Or maybe, "You didn't scream when I pulled that bullet out of your leg. You're tough. Marry me." And you say yes. Not because you're in love, but because you've already been shot at together, you've survived food poisoning together, and frankly, that's more commitment than most couples in the West manage before someone moves to Oregon without leaving a note. The wedding, if there is a ceremony, it'll likely happen in a church with a leaky roof, a preacher who smells like whiskey and repentance, and a guest list that includes 3 outlaws pretending to be cousins, your ex standing in the back with a shovel, and a horse tied up outside wearing a flower crown. The bride wears boots. The groom wears a suspicious smile. Vows are improvised. Rings are optional. And when the preacher asks if anyone objects, at least 2 people do, out loud, and are promptly escorted out by the town marshal and are hit with a chair. Then you kiss, someone fires a pistol into the air, and it's official. You're hitched. The honeymoon, don't even think about it. You'll be lucky if you get a bed that isn't full of ants and regret. Most newlyweds in the Wild West spend their first week fixing a broken wagon wheel, fighting off bandits, arguing over who gets to sleep closer to the fire, or surviving a family dinner where someone brings up that incident with the cattle and the priest. Romantic getaway? Try running from debt collectors in matching hats. Marriage life, Western edition. Now comes the real test. Living together, that's where things get spicy. Because now you're discovering things like, she sharpens knives when she's mad, he talks in his sleep, often to people named Delilah, who no one has ever seen. She keeps a raccoon in the pantry and calls it second husband. He thinks bathing once a month is fancy living. There are no therapists, no date nights, no couples counseling. Just 2 people, 2 tempers, and a shared ability to survive both rattlesnakes and emotional trauma. Arguments escalate fast. Normal couple, why didn't you do the dishes? Wild West couple, you forgot to reload the rifle before supper, and now the outhouse is occupied by a coyote. Normal couple, stop leaving your socks on the floor. Wild West couple, if you tie the horses that close again, I swear I'll bury you with that harmonica you never stop playing. And yet, somehow it works. Because marriage out here isn't about roses and moonlight. It's about survival. About knowing the other person won't abandon you when there's no food, no water, and someone named One-Eyed Pete is outside yelling for blood. You don't need matching towels, you need matching grit. The in-laws, oh, you thought we were done? No, friend. Welcome to the true battlefield. The in-laws. His father thinks you're soft. Her mother carries a shotgun named Mabel. Uncle Jesse's been on the run since 1871 and sleeps in your barn. Someone named Cousin Lyle won't stop asking if he can borrow your teeth for a card game. Family dinners are tense. Someone always brings a casserole that hisses. Someone always drinks too much. And someone always tells the story about how your spouse could have done better while petting a live rattlesnake. Separation? Divorce? Hilarious. There's no paperwork. No hearings. Just one person moving out in the middle of the night with the mule and half the beans, and the other person waking up alone with a note that says, "Gone to California. Don't wait up." Sometimes the town just assumes you're divorced when you stop shooting at each other in public. Sometimes divorce is settled with dueling lawyers. Not dueling in court, dueling with guns. But mostly, you stay together, not because it's perfect, not because it's easy, but because somehow you're better at surviving together than apart. She shoots straight. He cooks a decent stew. You both know the other's snore pattern and which coyotes are the loudest. That's as close to love as it gets out here. Final thoughts, so what's the takeaway? Marriage in the Wild West is not for the faint of heart. It's not candlelit. It's not delicate. It's a battle alliance forged in fire, beans, and mild head trauma if you're lucky. You find someone who shoots at the same enemies, doesn't steal your horse, shares their last biscuit, and only poisons you a little when angry. You fight. You curse. You survive. You age like a pair of boots, worn, cracked, but damn near indestructible. Because out here, marriage isn't the end of the story, it's just the part where the plot gets really dangerous. The weather is not your friend. It's a professional killer wearing a cloud out here in the Wild West. People worry about bandits, rattlesnakes, shootouts, poison stew, and marriages to women named Clementine who throw axes when angry. But they forget the most reliable, ruthless, and unforgiving killer of them all. The weather, yes, friend. That smiling sky you woke up under, that gentle breeze, that soft, poetic tumbleweed rolling by. That's a setup. Because weather in the West isn't just unpredictable. It's vindictive. It doesn't change. It attacks. The sky out here has more mood swings than a raccoon in a root cellar, and if you don't learn how to read it and dress for it, you'll end up as a cautionary tale told over burnt coffee and regret. Act 1. Sun. The flaming sky demon. Let's begin with sunshine, the great deceiver. Back east, people enjoy sunshine. They picnic under it. They paint sunsets and write poems. Out here, we curse it like a cheating poker player with good hair. Because the sun in the Wild West isn't friendly. It's not even neutral. It's a giant, unblinking eye of fire that wants to bake you alive in your own saddle. You step outside thinking, "Ah, nice and warm today." 2 hours later, your tongue's dry, your skin's peeling off like jerky, and your horse is giving you that "I told you so" look. Clothes? If you're not covered, you're toast. Literally. Hats aren't fashion, they're survival gear. Big, wide, floppy hats that block sun, dust, birds, and shame. You need sleeves, gloves, something to keep the sun off your neck unless you enjoy looking like a boiled tomato by sundown. And don't forget the sun doesn't just cook you. It blinds you. The glare off a white rock at high noon will melt your retinas. Sunglasses haven't been invented yet, so get used to squinting like someone constantly trying to remember if they locked the barn. Act 2. Wind. The loud whisper of doom. Let's talk wind. Oh, you thought a little breeze was nice? Cute. Out here, wind doesn't whisper. It screams. Point 1 minute you're walking through town like a respectable citizen. The next, a dust devil punches you in the chest, flips your hat, and fills your mouth with sand so fine it'll exfoliate your tongue. That's right, weather that exfoliates. Brutal and beauty conscious. Wind will tear through your coat, up your sleeves, and under your soul. It'll carry messages from one side of town to the other, usually gossip you didn't want shared. It'll slam saloon doors, knock over outhouses, and occasionally pick up your laundry and relocate it to another county. Dress tight. No frilly scarves unless you want to be strangled by your own fashion choices. And always walk like you're ready to be sucker punched by a breeze that hates your hat and your haircut. Act 3. Rain. That one time a cloud cried and drowned a town rain is rare. And when it comes, it arrives like a drunk uncle. Uninvited, loud, and devastating. It doesn't drizzle. Pours. Biblical. Apocalyptic. Is that a cow floating by? Levels of wet. The ground out here is hard. It doesn't absorb. So when rain hits, it turns trails into rivers, streets into swamps, and wagon wheels into decoration. Everything floods. Your boots, your tent, your sense of dignity. And let's talk about mud. You haven't truly suffered until you've tried to haul yourself out of prairie mud that sucks off your boots and dares you to come get them. So what do you wear? Leather, waxed canvas, and misery. Anything waterproofish. And if someone offers you a second-hand poncho, take it. Even if it smells like sadness and raccoon tears. Act 4. Snow, fluffy, white, and absolutely trying to kill you. Yes. Snow. Romantic in stories. Deadly in real life. First it falls gently. You think, how lovely. Then it keeps falling. Then it doesn't stop falling. Next thing you know, you've lost your horse in a drift. Your fingers have turned blue, and you're rationing stale jerky in a cabin with someone named Clem who insists it's not cold yet. Snow in the West is a liar. It hides everything. Rocks, holes, snakes, regrets. It turns friendly paths into death traps and makes every step a coin flip between progress and a twisted ankle. Cold weather fashion? Layer like you're hiding from the law. Wool, fur, stolen blankets, whatever you can strap to your body. Gloves so thick you can't hold a cup. A scarf so long it doubles as a tent. And boots, proper boots. If your toes go numb, they don't come back. You'll just name them and mourn them every winter. And for the love of all that's holy, don't lick the icicles. They're not clean. They're weapons. Weather surprise bonuses: hail, rocks made of ice. Sky grenades. You will be bruised. Helmets are not ridiculous. Lightning wants to kill tall things. Don't be tall. Don't ride a horse. Don't carry a rifle while yelling, "Come at me, sky!" Fog, less deadly, more creepy. Great for ghost stories. Terrible for trail visibility. You'll walk in circles until your horse files a missing persons report. Sudden temperature drops. It was 80 degrees an hour ago. Now it's 20 and you're shivering in your boots while someone says, "Should have packed a coat." You punch them. You feel better. Then frostbite sets in. So what's the secret? The secret to not dying from weather? Dress like you expect betrayal from the sky. That means layering like an onion with trust issues. Carrying extra socks. Always. A man with dry feet lives longer. Never trusting a clear sky before noon. Owning a hat so wide you could serve breakfast on it. Accepting that you will never, ever be fully comfortable. Because comfort is a lie. The goal is not dying. Anything beyond that is a bonus. Final advice from a weathered cowboy: the West doesn't care how tough you are, that it'll peel your skin, soak your bones, and laugh as you try to light a match in the wind while whispering please to a cloud. So respect the sky. fear the breeze. Mock the sun only when indoors, and remember, if you're too hot, too cold, too wet, or too dry, you're probably doing it right. Because out here, if you don't dress like you're fighting a weather-based god every single day, you're just another fool waiting to be turned into a weather-worn cautionary tale. Leave like a ghost or stay like a corpse in the Wild West. People don't just arrive, they make entrances. A rider thundering into town, coat flapping, dust flying, everyone turning to look like it's a scene from an opera where someone's about to lose an eyebrow. Folks like to arrive loud, announce themselves, stake their claim. But leaving, that's a whole different game. Because if you want to live longer than a barrel of salted pork, let me give you the simplest, truest, most life-saving piece of advice you'll ever hear. Leave. Quietly. Before sundown. You don't need a dramatic exit. You don't need a farewell speech. You don't need to tell everyone at the saloon where you're headed, why you're leaving, or how they ain't seen the last of you. Because in the West, when folks make a big deal about leaving, they don't. The dangerous art of saying goodbye, you'd think leaving town would be simple. Saddle your horse, tip your hat, ride off, done. But no. Some fools make a show out of it. They stroll down Main Street like they're starring in the world's dustiest opera. They stop in every store to say their goodbyes. They give little speeches like, "Well, I reckon I've worn out my welcome here." What they don't realize is that somewhere, someone is listening. Maybe it's the guy whose boots you accidentally spilled beer on. Maybe it's that one-eyed gambler who's still mad about losing at poker. Maybe it's the sheriff who just realized your name sounds suspiciously like someone wanted in Missouri. The moment you make yourself memorable on the way out, you're no longer leaving town. You're inviting the town to follow. Why leave quietly? Because loud exits get remembered, quiet ones get forgotten. And in the Wild West, being forgotten is a survival tactic. When you slip out unnoticed, you're not blamed when the saloon burns down 2 hours later. You're not linked to the bank that's missing a few gold bars. You're not the subject of rumors involving a stolen mule and the preacher's daughter. You're just gone to no one knows where. No one knows why. You become that mysterious figure people vaguely remember. Didn't he leave 2 weeks ago? Thought he was still in town. Wasn't he married to that one-eyed woman who kept snakes? And you, meanwhile, are 30 miles down the road, warm, alive, and unshot. When to leave timing is everything. Don't leave at night. You'll be eaten by something, or worse, robbed by someone who sees poorly and shoots nervously. Don't leave at high noon. You'll cook like bacon and pass out halfway to the next town. Leave in the late afternoon, when the light is soft, the air is cool, and the saloon is distracted by a new bar fight. Most importantly, leave before sundown, because bad things happen after dark. Wolves howl, drunks stagger, mistakes get made, and ghosts come out. Not the spooky kind, the regret kind. By the time the stars are up, it's too late. The shadows have grown eyes. The road starts whispering, and you start wishing you'd listened to that weird old man who said, "Ain't no good comes from staying past supper." How to leave. Step 1. Pack before anyone knows you're thinking about it. Never let anyone see you roll up a bedroll. That's like telling the poker table you're folding. It invites bluff calls, bribes, and last-minute confessions. Step 2. Settle your debts or fake your death. Whichever is easier. Step 3. Nod to the horse. This is not optional. Your horse needs to know it's time to flee, not just go for a scenic trot. A proper let's disappear Nod can mean the difference between a smooth exit and being thrown into a cactus patch while your saddlebag flies into a river. Step 4. Ride calm. Don't gallop out like a wanted man unless you are one. Just trot. Fade. Let the dust rise behind you like a curtain closing on a one-man tragedy. Who's most likely to get killed for not leaving right? The bragger. They'll miss me when I'm gone. No, we'll miss shooting at you when you're gone. The romantic. I can't leave her. Buddy. She's already packed your bags, sold your horse, and is dating someone named Texas Red. The dealer who won big, one more drink before I ride. You just won half the town's money. And now you want to linger? Hope your will's up to date. The loudmouth, let it be known I, Jeremiah T. Butters, am riding west to start a new life. Cool story, Jeremiah. You'll be remembered as the guy who got bushwhacked by a tumbleweed with a grudge. Legends are for tombstones. Too many folks out here get obsessed with becoming legends. They want to be remembered, glorified, turned into stories. But here's a hard truth. Legends die young. Stories end with a bang because the main character didn't know when to leave the stage. The ones who truly survive, they leave quietly. They let others tell tales while they build a new life 3 counties away under a new name with a less wanted poster. If someone says, "Hey, whatever happened to?" and no one can answer, that person won. Final rule. No goodbyes. Don't write letters. Don't leave notes. Don't make speeches. The best farewell is the one you never give. Because in the West, saying goodbye is just starting drama early. Someone will cry. Someone will ask questions. Someone will want just one more drink. And that one drink turns into a card game, which turns into a gunfight, which turns into your name carved on a saloon beam next to the words, "He almost made it." So what's the summary? Slip out. Don't stomp out. Vanishing is a skill. Master it. Silence is safer than nostalgia. And above all, remember this. A cowboy who knows when to ride out quietly lives to ride again. The rest, they stay one night too long and get remembered for the wrong reasons. The loud die fast. The quiet bury them. The Wild West had plenty of sounds. Gunfire, howling coyotes, drunks singing off-key, saloons slamming shut, boots stomping, and someone yelling "drawl 3 seconds too late." But the most dangerous sound? Silence. Not the peaceful kind. Not stars over the prairie kind. The tense, charged. Why did everyone stop talking kind? The kind of silence that shows up before someone gets their mustache blown off at close range. Because out here, it ain't the loudmouths that run the show, it's the quiet ones. And if you want to live long enough to get wrinkly and complain about kids these days, you'd better learn to spot them, and better yet, learn to be one at the loudmouth illusion. Let's start with the biggest trap of all. Assuming volume equals danger. Every saloon's got a talker. He brags about all the men he's shot. Tells tales so tall they need their own ladder. Talks about how he once wrestled a bear while singing Yankee Doodle. And chewing tobacco with both hands. He wants attention. He wants respect. He thinks being loud makes him feared. It doesn't. It just makes him easy to find. And in the West, easy to find equals easy to shoot. Ask around. How many big talkers do you remember from last year? Exactly. They're all dead, buried under headstones that read, "Here lies Carl. He shoulda shut up." Enter. The quiet one's the guy in the corner. The one who doesn't play cards, doesn't drink too much, doesn't blink. You never hear him coming. You never hear him leaving. Half the time, you don't even hear him breathe. He doesn't brag. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't say, "I'm gonna shoot you." He just shoots you. You try to size him up, he sizes your grave, and by the time someone yells, "What happened?" he's already cleaned the barrel and walked out the back door, leaving behind only a faint whiff of tobacco and unfinished chili. What makes them so dangerous? They're always watching. While the loud ones are busy showing off their boots, the quiet one has counted exits, memorized the bartender's gun hand, and already guessed which floorboard squeaks. They don't hesitate and no speeches. No warnings. Just action. You raise your voice, he raises his revolver. That's the entire conversation. They don't miss. Because they don't shoot unless it's necessary. And when they do, it's with the calm precision of someone who once hunted coyotes with a butter knife. They vanished, you'll never see them twice in the same hat. One day he's a trail hand. Next day he's the new blacksmith. Week later he's a rumor someone half remembers. How to spot one, if you must. He drinks alone. Never drunk. He cleans his boots, but not too much. He listens more than he speaks. He doesn't laugh. He just smirks. His coat looks worn, but his holster looks new. He always sits with his back to a wall. Always. And if you ever see someone polishing a revolver while a fight breaks out, but not joining in, that's your guy. Because the quiet one doesn't join fights. He ends them. Wanna live? Be forgettable. Quiet men are rarely remembered. That's the secret. No one knows their full name. No one knows where they're from. No one knows how many bodies they've buried, and no one asks. And guess what? That's the best armor a man can wear. Because in the West, reputation is like blood in the water. It attracts predators. But mystery keeps the wolves guessing. But what if you're the loud one? Well, friend, that's fixable. Just follow these steps. Shut your mouth. Literally. If your lips are moving, stop. Stop telling stories. Nobody cares if you fought 5 bandits in Cheyenne. Especially not the 6th bandit who's currently at the bar. Lower your boots. You don't need to stomp. You're not a parade. Wear neutral colors. No one ever died for wearing brown. Except maybe out of boredom. Practice the stare. Find a mirror. Look into it like you just saw someone cheat at poker and you're calculating their dental bill. Hold that face. Over time, folks will start to say, "He used to talk more." And then they'll stop talking about you altogether. Which is exactly what you want. The quiet code if you're going to embrace the silence. There are a few rules. Never pull first unless you're pulling last. Speak in sentences that end with periods, not exclamation points. Tip your hat, but only once. If someone insults you and you smile, they'll worry. If you say, "That's funny," they'll run. Never explain yourself. The more you talk, the more you give away. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. The last sound you'll hear. Ask any undertaker what the last thing people usually say is before they die. It's something loud. Something stupid. You don't have the guts. Bet you won't. You think you're tough? This town ain't biggin'. Bang, then silence, and in that silence, the quiet one holsters his gun, nods once to no one in particular, and walks into the dust. So what's the lesson? Talk less. Walk slower. Stare longer. Loud men die. Silent men dig graves. Respect the man who watches. Fear the man who waits. And if you find yourself sitting across from a fella who hasn't said more than 2 words in an hour, And those words were, "Not yet. Start planning your exit." Because in the Wild West, silence ain't cowardice. It's confidence with a kill count. Whiskey, the cure for everything except consequences. If you walk into any saloon from Dodge City to Deadwood and whisper the word medicine, three things will happen. Someone will laugh, someone will start coughing theatrically, and someone, always wearing a hat that hasn't been cleaned since the Civil War, will slam down a glass of brown liquid and say, "This right here, that's all the medicine you'll ever need." And that medicine, my friend, is whiskey. Whiskey in the Wild West isn't just a drink, it's a philosophy, a currency, a flamethrower, a deodorant, a truth serum, a weapon, and occasionally, depending on the saloon, a cleaning agent. But above all else, whiskey is the most reliable way to ruin your life and have a great time doing it. The elixir of idiots and legends in the West, whiskey is never served in small sips or gentle cocktails. No one's garnishing it with a citrus twist. You don't ask for notes of vanilla. If you can smell it before it melts your nose hairs, it's probably not strong enough. Every town has its own version, distilled behind barns, in basements, or possibly in someone's boot. If it doesn't smell like regret and kerosene, they call it juice for babies. You'll hear folks say things like, "It'll put hair on your chest, cleans the soul and the sin. It's what angels drink before they fight. And sure, it'll burn your throat and your stomach and possibly your lineage. But it'll also warm you up faster than a campfire fueled by horse dung and heartbreak." Why drink it? It's cold. Whiskey will warm your insides. Mostly because it's igniting something down there. Your nervous 1 shot equals confidence 2 shots equals invincibility 3 shots equals hospitalization 4 shots equals you're either dancing on the bar or challenging a piano to a duel that you've been shot. Whiskey equals anesthesia. Also works as disinfectant. Or mouthwash. Or bribe. Or oops, I missed the wound apology drink. You're celebrating. Survived the shootout? Whiskey. Got married? Whiskey. Got divorced? Double whiskey. You're breathing. Let's face it, any reason will do. The excuse of legends, but whiskey isn't just a drink. It's an alibi. People have blamed whiskey for insulting the sheriff's wife, falling into a trough naked, betting the family mule on a card game called Guess the Smell, marrying the wrong twin twice, shooting themselves in the foot while trying to remove a boot, and naming their child Sarsaparilla McFiregun. And somehow, society just nods and goes, "Well, he was drinking." Whiskey doesn't erase your sins. It just makes them funnier at your funeral. The whiskey speak translator, when someone says, "Just one drink," they mean, "Clear your calendar. This'll be my last." They mean, "Start digging." "I hold my liquor well." They mean, "Tell my horse I love him." "You ever tried cactus whiskey?" They mean, "Call the priest. This bottle's been aged 3 months in the sun." They mean, "We made this behind the barn last Thursday." Side effects include warm cheeks, loud opinions, sudden piano playing, confidence, emotional storytelling, regret, often delayed, loss of pants, making friends with animals, starting fights with animals, waking up with someone named Dusty, man or woman unclear, believing you can fly off the roof of the saloon, and of course, the inevitable, "Wait, what did I do last night?" Whiskey diplomacy in the West. Nothing smooths over conflict like a drink. You insult someone's hat, buy them a whiskey. Shot their horse? Whiskey. Burned down their barn because you thought it was haunted. 2 whiskeys and a sincere shrug. In fact, many historic peace treaties west of the Mississippi began with one phrase: "What if we just drank about it?" But beware, drinking together is not the same as being friends. It just means if a fight breaks out, you'll be unconscious on the same floorboards. When not to drink whiskey, believe it or not, there are moments when whiskey is a bad idea. Right before testifying in court, "Your Honor, I'd like to sing my answer." During a knife-throwing contest, trust me, I'm focused. While performing surgery, "Where's the liver? Is that the liver?" During childbirth, that's more for the mother. Usually, right before a duel, "I can see 3 of him." But you'll do it anyway, because you're in the Wild West and the laws of common sense died in the dust a long time ago. Legends burn fast. Nobodies ride far. Everyone wants to be remembered. They want their name carved into saloon walls, whispered in gambling dens, or etched on a plaque that reads, "Here stood Jedediah Blaze, slayer of men and kisser of danger." They want ballads, stories, statues, maybe a sandwich named after them if there's time. But the West has a cruel sense of humor. You know what happens to folks who chase legend status? They die. And usually in embarrassing ways, like slipping on a potato in a gunfight or getting kicked by a goat during their final stand. Because in the Wild West, becoming a legend is the fastest way to get yourself killed. You want to survive? Live a long, dusty life? Raise goats in peace and only get shot once? Then learn this one sacred rule. Be nobody. The curse of the big namelets talk about the so-called greats. Every town has one. Some guy who walks in loud, guns jangling, coat flapping in slow motion even though there's no wind. He orders whiskey like it owes him money and tells stories like he's auditioning for his own mythology. He wants people to gasp when he says his name. "I'm Buck, 6 Dead McGraw." And everyone immediately starts plotting how to become number 7. Because when you declare yourself a legend, you put a bounty on your own back. Not just with criminals, but with every overconfident wannabe who thinks killing you is their ticket to stardom. Suddenly you can't sleep, can't drink, can't pee without someone challenging you to a duel in the outhouse. You've got fans, sure, but most of them are armed, angry, and bad at spelling. Legends can't retire. There's no peaceful ending for a man with a famous name. You can't settle down and raise chickens if your name is Tommy Two Guns the Widowmaker. Nobody trusts that guy with poultry. You can't get old. Legends don't get wrinkles. They get epilogues. You'll try to disappear, go by Joe in some sleepy town. But someone always recognizes the scar, the limp, the haunted eyes that say, "I once won a duel using only shadows and bad intentions." And then it starts again. The challenges, the whispers, the bodies. You want a peaceful life? Change your name to Irrelevant Pete and practice looking slightly confused in crowds. The glory problem. See, glory sounds nice, until you realize it's a death sentence with a fan club. Legends don't get second chances. They don't get quiet mornings. They don't get left alone. Because the moment you matter too much, someone somewhere decides you need to be stopped. And not just outlaws. Sheriffs, deputies, jealous exes, up-and-coming teenagers with nothing to lose. All of them want to notch their name into your gravestone. You know who never gets shot at during dinner? Mild-mannered Gus, the guy who works the forge and has never once bragged about anything except his cornbread. Gus will live to 90. You'll live to the end of this paragraph if you're lucky. The true survivors, the people who make it out of the Wild West alive, aren't flashy. They're the ranch hand who minds his business, the woman who wears plain dresses and carries 3 knives, the stable boy with a limp and no known last name, the guy who always seems to be in the background of every group photo, somehow not aging. They don't brag. They don't duel. They don't prove themselves. They just endure. They slip through towns, leave no stories behind, and only speak in vague half-truths like, "I used to know a guy who knew a guy." And just like that, they're gone and no footprints. No drama, just survival. How to be a nobody. Step 1. Dress like oatmeal. No shiny spurs. No black hats with skulls. Beige is your best friend. Step 2. Answer questions vaguely. Where you from? Oh, out that way. You ever kill a man? I try not to. Ain't you the one who blew up the jail? Shrugs, sips drink, leaves. Step 3. Don't correct people when they forget your name. If they call you Phil and your name is Greg, guess what? You're Phil now. Step 4. Leave before stories start. You see someone pulling out a guitar to write a ballad about you? Steal the horse and vanish. Step 5. Never win too big. If you win a poker game, lose the next one. If you shoot well, miss a can on purpose. Mediocrity is your camouflage. Famous last words. Literally, most Wild West legends have truly terrible final quotes. They wouldn't dare. Wrong. I'll go down in history. You did. As a smoking crater. You all will remember me. We did. Until someone else shot a preacher while juggling dynamite. But the nobodies? No one remembers what they said because they kept living. They outlived their enemies, outlived the drama, outlived the ballads. While folks are still singing about Billy the something or other. Gus is sipping tea on his porch, 92 years old, feeding chickens and hiding a gold bar under his floorboards. Legacy versus longevity. You can either burn bright and short or smolder quietly and outlast the fire. The West doesn't reward loud men. It rewards clever cowards, cautious thinkers, and masters of the exit strategy. So next time someone offers to write a song about you, or paint your portrait, or name a chili contest after you, decline politely and get the hell out of town. Let some other fool chase the spotlight. You'll chase the next sunrise, nameless, faceless, and absolutely gloriously alive. The moral of the Wild West. Legends are remembered. Nobodies survive. And between those 2 options, only one gets to keep their teeth, sleep peacefully, and die of something other than lead poisoning and ego.